Sheena had been carefully training and preparing Cheryl since she was a little girl so that she could take over Harmonia Pharmacy when the time came. Cheryl had even majored in herbology and pharmacology in college to better prepare herself for her future. She picked up the dark-colored pill and sniffed it carefully. A fresh and invigorating smell enveloped her, instantly clearing and revitalizing her mind. It was like she was breathing fresh mountain air. Her pretty face turned serious, and she stared at the pill intently. Melissa's normally gentle expression had become concerned. "What's the matter?" Cheryl shook her head. Then she asked hesitantly, "Can I have this, Grandma? I'd like to take it back with me so I can study it and check a few things." Mrs. Anderson nodded. "Of course you can take one with you." Cheryl delicately held the pill as if she had just found something precious. She carefully put it in her bag, rushed down the stairs and out of the door, jumped in her car, and made a beeline for the laboratory. Sheena and Simon were discussing countermeasures in the living room. Startled, they watched as Cheryl ran out the door. Sheena frowned. "I'll go upstairs and find out what's going on." While Nora was driving home, her cell phone rang. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. As soon as she answered the call, an angry voice shouted at her, "Nora, where's my money? We had an agreement. I went to the bank to transfer the funds today, but they told me there was nothing in the account. Why haven't you transferred the money? You're a good-for-nothing daughter. If you think you can abandon us now that you're clinging to the Andersons, you've got another thing coming." The smile on Nora's face was feral. "Dad, there's something I want to ask you." "I don't have time for silly questions. I'm warning you, stop wasting my time and transfer the money now." Nora kept her eyes on the road. She had long since stopped feeling sad or intimidated because of people like him. She continued calmly, "Was my mum blind when she married you?" Her question was met by a shocked silence. Before he could recover, Nora had already hung up. The only reason she had put up with him all these years was to protect her son. Her father was the key to finding her precious boy, and she had been terrified that he had still found a way to mistreat him. Now she was free. Her phone rang again. Quickly glancing at it, she saw a string of unfamiliar numbers. Guessing it was her father calling her again, she answered the call. Without waiting for him to speak, she said cynically, "Why are you calling me again? Are you dying? Should I start planning your funeral?" There was only silence on the other end, and she scoffed. She was about to hang up when Justin's familiar voice came through the line. He teased, "Miss Smith, are you offering to plan my funeral?" At the hospital, the corners of Justin's lips curled up. Planning a funeral was a deeply personal responsibility. It was something that usually fell to a spouse or other family member. Nora felt herself going cold as she realized she'd been hurling insults at the wrong person. In her haste to answer the phone, she didn't notice that the numbers on the screen were different from her father's earlier call. Quickly accepting her mistake, she pulled herself together and asked, "Is something wrong, Mr. Hunt?" Justin's voice was deep and soothing. It reverberated through the car's speakers when he answered. "If I recall correctly, you wanted me to locate someone for you after you treated my grandmother." "That's not necessary anymore," replied Nora coldly. But then it suddenly occurred to her. If Justin owed her a huge favor, could she use that to ask for her son back? She softened her tone and returned, "It was an honor to help you." Justin leaned against the wall along the hallway in the hospital, feeling good. This was the first time she had been nice to him since they had met. He was so surprised he didn't quite know how to respond. Then he heard her say, "Feel free to call me whenever anyone in your family, especially your son, gets sick, Mr. Hunt. I have a daughter myself, so I know all about children's illnesses. Your son has left quite an impression on me, and I feel a sense of kinship toward him. If I can be of any help, even if it's just a small bout of flu or a fever, I'd be more than willing to offer my services." She's really making an effort to point out that we're both single parents. Is she trying to tell me that we would make a great couple? The corners of his deep-set eyes turned up as he said, "Thank you. I really appreciate your offer." Without hesitation, Nora replied, "I will think of your son as my own. He was a little shocked by the familiarity of her words. He opted to change the subject and said, I heard that news mistakenly got out that it was Mr. Myers who cured my grandmother. Would you like me to clear up the matter and let them know who they should really be thanking? When his grandmother first mentioned it was all thanks to Tina that she had recovered, he had thought of clarifying the matter. But then he remembered how Nora seemed to dislike trouble, how she kept her identity a secret, and how she avoided any chance of exposure. He refrained from interfering until he could ask her what she wanted. Sure enough, she responded how he thought she would. No, it's fine, thank you. At least you know the truth. After hanging up, he couldn't get Nora's beautiful face out of his mind, and his smile widened. The next moment, he heard a voice from behind him. Mr. Hunt. The smile slipped from Justin's face, and he turned to see his executive assistant, Sean Jenkins, standing there respectfully. Justin couldn't help but compare him to Lawrence. Sean was relatively quiet and reserved, unlike the talkative and nagging Lawrence. He got straight to the point and said, Mr. Raymond has stepped down from his position as vice chairman of the company. Justin nodded and started making his way to the ward. As he got to the entrance, he turned to Sean. Have you made a note of all the people who were on Raymond's side today? Sean confirmed it. Yes, I've noted them all. Justin's eyes were ice cold. In his struggle for power, his uncle must have bribed a lot of people in recent years. Observing quietly, Justin had used the ruckus outside the ward earlier in the day as an opportunity to root out the traitors. He had wanted to get a clear idea of who was on his uncle's side. This time, he would get them all. Nora drove back to the Andersons. After getting out of the car, she stretched out her limbs and entered the house. Then she walked into the living room. As soon as she crossed the threshold, she saw Sheena and Simon seated on the sofa with stern and severe expressions. She was about to ask what had happened when Sheena shot to her feet, grabbed a teacup and hurled it at Nora. There was a clatter as the teacup fell short, hitting the ground and shattering into tiny pieces. Nora's expression instantly turned cold. Sheena pointed at her and shouted, What kind of back-alley medicine did you give your grandmother? Her eyes started to sting after she applied it. She's not a young woman anymore. She can't handle such potent medication. Are you trying to kill her? Her face was flushed and red, and the veins in her neck looked as if they were about to burst. I have a ton of things to do to keep our company from collapsing, but you keep causing trouble and making things worse. Now, I have to spend even more time cleaning up your mess. All of this started as soon as you got here. You're just like your mother, a curse on this family. Melissa, who was supporting an unsteady Mrs. Anderson down the hall on the second floor, interrupted her. Sheena, Mum wants you to stop. Sheena shrieked. Mum, she has to learn that mistakes have consequences. If we don't teach her, she could end up going down the wrong path just like her mother. Mrs. Anderson had been leaning on the rail for support. She looked furious. Pulling herself upright, she pointed in the direction of the front door and shouted, Get out! Sheena glared at Nora. Did you hear her? She told you to get out. But then Mrs. Anderson spoke again. Mrs. Anderson took a deep breath. With an empty look in her eyes, she turned in the direction where Sheena's voice was coming from and said, I'm telling you to get out, Sheena. Sheena was stunned. Her eyes widened, and she turned to Mrs. Anderson. Incredulously, she questioned, Are you serious? The old lady clutched her chest. You have no respect for your sister, and you can't manage to say a kind or loving word to her daughter and granddaughter. You're not welcome here. This again. It's always about her, a furious Sheena ground out. Even when we were kids, you always took her side, but she's gone. I'm the one who's been providing for you all these years. Mrs. Anderson clenched the white cane tightly. Her lips trembled as she said, Regardless, Nora was just trying to help. Sheena sneered. Mum, do you really believe someone like her can fix your eyes? We've talked to so many doctors over the years, and none of them could do anything to help you. What makes you think she'll be able to do the one thing no one else could? Do you really trust her that much? Mrs. Anderson didn't know what to say. She wasn't sure she did believe that Nora could help her, but she meant well. Mrs. Anderson didn't have the heart to refuse her. Noticing her mother's hesitation, She continued, I'm surprised your eyes aren't burning. They're so red and swollen right now. It doesn't seem right. How is an ointment supposed to be an effective medical treatment? I don't think Nora knows what she's doing. Mrs. Anderson's face looked like she was having an allergic reaction. Her eyes were completely red and the skin all around them was swollen. But what none of them realized was that that was actually signs that the ointment was working. She hadn't used her eyes for such a long time that all the muscles had become weak and ineffective. A more potent ointment was needed for her to be able to recover quickly. Still standing stiffly at the bottom of the stairs, Nora was about to explain when Mrs. Anderson replied to Sheena, Please just stop talking. I'm willing to give it a go. Nora said that my eyes will recover and I will be able to see again in 7 days. If I don't at least try, how will I know whether she can really do it or not? You. Sheena's eyes shot angry daggers across the room. You trusted my sister, too. She said she'd be gone for a week, but then she never came back. Now you're making the same mistake again, putting your trust in her daughter. Why are you so stubborn? She grabbed her bag and walked to the door. When she passed by Nora, her expression showed her disgust. 7 days, right? Fine. I'll come back in 7 days. Even if she can withstand your torture. If her condition doesn't improve, I'll have you thrown out of this house if it's the last thing I do. Sheena was about to step out the door when Nora called to her. Aunt Sheena. She stopped and looked back. Nora kept her expression neutral, but her eyes were cold. She continued in a low voice. If I successfully cure Grandma's eyes, I hope you will apologize for what you've said about my mother. For a moment, Sheena felt as if she had time-traveled 20 years into the past. That voice. The hauntingly familiar and resolute figure. Sheena reined in her thoughts and sneered. I can see you've inherited your mother's way with words. For your sake, I hope you've also inherited her talent for creating medicines. Don't blame me if I show you no mercy. With that, she turned and walked out the door. After she had left, Mrs. Anderson sighed and said, Please don't hold it against her, Nora. She idolized your mum back then, and although she hides it well, she still respects her a great deal. Mrs. Anderson went back to her room. Melissa walked over to Nora and asked softly, Is it really okay for the skin around her eyes to be so red? Nora patiently explained, Yes, it's normal. It'll get worse over the next few days, but then it will gradually fade by the end of the week. It looks bad, but it shouldn't actually hurt. Melissa was relieved to hear that. Nora yawned and went to her room. Turning, Melissa saw the nanny returning with Cherry. She smiled and beckoned to her, fondly remembering how the little girl had made Sheena eat her own words the other day when she had mocked her for being uneducated. Cherry obediently ran over. What's up, Aunt Melissa? Can you say something to me in Arabic again? Her face scrunched up in a frown. Confused, she replied, But Aunt Melissa, I only speak English. I don't know any Arabic. Melissa was surprised. Had she just been acting that day? She asked hesitantly, What about your advanced math studies, art competitions, and everything else? A puzzled Cherry tilted her head and asked, I've never taken any kind of special classes. Why would I be in any competitions? Melissa was dumbfounded. Seeing her hesitation, Cherry tugged on her arm. I'm not completely useless, though, Aunt Melissa. I know a lot of historical facts. Melissa seemed to perk up a little. She asked, What kind of facts do you know? I know a lot, the girl exclaimed triumphantly. She started listing off what she thought were historical facts. Who discovered America? Michael Fassbender. Who invented the airplane? Tom and Colin Hanks. After 10 minutes of this, Cherry waved her hands and said, Don't get too excited, Aunt Melissa. I know I'm super awesome. I'll let you calm down from me blowing your mind. I'm going to go play some games. It was only after she had skipped all the way up the stairs that Melissa finally reacted. The corners of her lips spasmed as she glanced upstairs. She sighed and shook her head. It was all Sheena's fault for saying mean things the other day. She had been bragging about her daughter's achievements. Nora and Cherry couldn't really be blamed for spinning tales to get themselves out of a tough spot. Their boasting was a little too exaggerated, though. But if they had lied about Cherry's education, had Nora also been lying about being able to fix her grandmother's eyes? She was starting to feel a little unsure. Nora had fallen asleep after laying down on the bed. She woke up a short time later and spent some time playing with Cherry, but she was missing her son very much. She sent him a text message, but he didn't respond to her. That worried her, so she decided to message Justin too. "Mr. Hunt, are you awake?" Justin had just come out of the shower when he saw the message. The corner of his lips curled upward, and he quickly replied, "Yes." Her reply came immediately. "Oh, is your son asleep?" Justin glanced at Pete's tightly shut bedroom and replied, "Yes, he is." "She probably thinks we can only chat after I've put Pete to bed. It's very considerate of her not to interrupt my time with him." Sure enough, after he sent the message, his cell phone beeped again. He opened the message with one hand while toweling his hair with the other. Right away, his expression hardened. The message on the screen showed only one single word. "Oh." That's it. I thought she would have something else to say to keep the conversation going. Is she being shy? Justin felt confused by the weird conversation and replied, "Something up?" 3 minutes passed with no answer. Another 5 later, he still hadn't received a response. Justin thought that perhaps his cell phone was broken, so he sent a message to Lawrence. Lawrence? Lawrence was still far away on a remote corner of Earth. "Yes, boss? Can I come home?" Justin's reply was short. "No." At the house, Nora had already muted her cell phone and tossed it aside after she'd learned her son was asleep. With Cherry in her arms, she happily fell asleep again, completely unaware that Justin was tossing and turning in bed, with a million thoughts running through his mind all night. Early in the morning, exactly 7 days after the big argument, Sheena promptly arrived at the Anderson house. When the nanny told her that Nora was still asleep, she sneered, "Let her enjoy her last bit of comfortable sleep. She's going to be thrown out of the house as soon as she wakes up." "Who do you think you're throwing out of the house?"
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.